Welcome back now to China. At least 17 U.S. military bases near Chinese-owned farmland, reportedly seeing a surge in drone activity and sightings in recent weeks. The sightings happening near bases in Hawaii and installations in Utah, California, Maine, and Florida. House Foreign Affairs Committee Chairman Michael McCaul has been warning about the drones in focus these last couple of weeks. He says they're from China.
My judgment, based on my experience, is that those that are over our military sites are adversarial and most likely are coming from the People's Republic of China. Communist China is very good at this stuff. And we know they bought land around military bases. This would be very consistent with their policy over the last couple of years.
Alabama Senator Tommy Tuberville was with me this week. He weighed in on this yesterday. Watch this. Are we buying drones still from DJI, a Chinese drone maker?
Oh, we're buying drones from China. There's no doubt about that. I talked to a drone maker the other day, and basically I said, why are we buying drones from China? They have better technology, Maria, than what we have that handles a lot of the technology parts, like that works with different type of materials, different type of plastics. They make them cheaper, but they make them better. Our technology is way, way behind, and I guess that's the reason we're buying them from them. But again, that's something else that needs to be discussed with armed services, both the House and the Senate.
Joining me now is the Gatestone Institute senior fellow. He is author of Plan Red, China's Project to Destroy America. Gordon Chang back with us. Gordon, I find this stunning that we are still buying drones from China, and here we are trying to guess what the drones in the sky are that we're all talking about for the last couple of weeks. My guess is, and I've been saying this, that it is communist China. Your reaction?
It certainly is communist China for many of these drones, maybe even a majority of them. You know, the increased tempo of these drone flights against our military bases is occurring at the same time as there's increased frequency of incursions and attempted incursions of these bases by Chinese and other nationals. Really, what is occurring here is that they are preparing to attack the United States from American soil. I don't know why we need an engraved invitation from Beijing. It's clear what's going to happen. We are going to get hit, and we're not taking the necessary precautions to protect these bases and to protect the American people.
Well, I mean, there's also, a weakened situation to admit. I mean, for the longest time, General Jack Keane has been telling us on this program repeatedly for years that we are outgunned, we are outmanned when you look at our Navy versus the Chinese Navy. I mean, the Pentagon released its 2024 China Military Power Report yesterday. It found that Beijing is increasing its military pressure on Taiwan. It's ramping up its aggression in the South China Sea. It's deepening its ties with Russia, and its crackdown on military corruption may have disrupted progress toward its 2027 modernization goal. China also growing its nuclear arsenal, adding at least 100 nuclear warheads to its stockpile over the past year, with 600 plus already in the arsenal. That number could grow to over 1,000 by 2030, Gordon. And yet there's no response ever from the Biden-Harris administration to Beijing's behavior. We allowed the spy balloon to traverse the country for a week before shooting it down. Why aren't they shooting down these drones in the air if they suspect they're from China?
There's no good answer. You have base commanders, first of all, don't have the authority, and they don't have the equipment to shoot down these drones. And the Chinese are noticing this, which means they see a big vulnerability. And with those nuclear warheads, Maria, China is building up its arsenal not to deter. It already has enough warheads to deter. It's building up its arsenal so that it can coerce us and others into not doing things like defending Taiwan. They saw the way Biden reacted to Vladimir Putin's nuclear threats before the invasion of Ukraine. They saw that they worked, and the Chinese are going to do the same thing when they go after the Philippines, Japan, Taiwan, whomever.
Well, I want to look at what's happening on the ground. A Chinese man was arrested in 2023 for allegedly running a secret Chinese police station in New York City. He pled guilty yesterday to acting as an illegal foreign agent, Gordon. He's now facing 5 years in prison. He and his partner allegedly opened this police station back in 2022 to track and intimidate Chinese dissidents living in the United States. Both were caught deleting communications with an official from the Chinese Ministry of Public Security after learning that they were, in fact, under investigation. Gordon, you've been talking about this for so many years, these police stations. You first broke the news on this program years ago that Beijing had set up these police stations in America. Again, no response from Biden for years on police station. Why would we need Beijing police stations in New York City?
No, we don't. And we don't need the 7 to 9 other police stations in the United States that the New York Post and the Daily Caller have written about and reported. It's fine that they closed the New York one. I'm great that they did that, but they should be closing the other installations as well. It is just no justification for allowing the Chinese to violate our sovereignty and in many cases commit crimes against us. We're allowing consular officials and Ministry of State security agents to commit those crimes and violate our security on our own soil.
Yep, great point. Lee Carter, jump in here.
Gordon, I am so intrigued by this whole thing. I've been talking about the drones for a while. My family is from New Jersey. I've seen the drones over my home. So many people are saying it's just not possible that these drones could be from a foreign entity, that we would know. And if they were, we would be doing something about it. How is it possible that this is happening? And what do you think is going to be different come January 20th?
Yeah. Well, some of these drones may not be Chinese, and if they're not, they're federal government drones because they're too big. They are not the drones of hobbyists. So that leads the question is, what is the federal government doing in the skies over New Jersey with such a large operation? And, there are any number of alternative explanations, but until we hear the truth from the Biden administration, we have to speculate. Yeah. As President Trump said on Monday, the federal government knows what's happening in the skies over New Jersey, but it's not telling us. And if it's not telling us, the story cannot be good.
Right.
The story
Why?
can be ominous, it can be whatever, but it's not good.
Well, look, also ominous is this report that China is rapidly expanding its nuclear forces, according to the Pentagon, Gordon. I didn't hear you comment about that. U.S. Defense Department reports Beijing has increased its operational nuclear warhead arsenal by 20% in a year, Gordon.
Yes, and they're going very, very fast at this. And as we know, this is not for deterrence, this is for coercion. So they intend to engage in acts of aggression, but beforehand threaten everyone with the nuclear weapons if they don't do what the Chinese want. So wow. It's very clear what's happening. The Chinese have already made these threats, especially since 2021. And in 2013, they made the most ominous threat against the U.S. to target 13 American cities.
Yeah. Feels like a big bully in the global neighborhood, that's for sure. Gordon, great to get your insights as always. Thank you, sir.